The night was quiet, almost too quiet. The streets were empty. Only the sound of a distant car engine broke the silence. A young man named Daniel walked home after a long day. He had his backpack on his shoulder and his mind was full of boring thoughts, work, bills, and tomorrow's problems. He had no idea that tonight his life was about to change forever. Daniel always took the same road, a narrow street with broken lamps and cracked sidewalks. He liked it because it was short, but it always felt a little strange. Tonight, however, something was different. At the corner of the street, he saw a figure. It was small, bent and struggling with heavy bags. At first, Daniel thought it was just an old woman, but as he walked closer, he noticed something unusual. Her skin looked pale, almost silver in the streetlight. Her eyes glowed faintly like fireflies in the dark. She held a cane, but the cane was not touching the ground. It floated, following her hand as if alive. Daniel stopped. His heart began to beat faster. Is this real? Or am I just tired? He whispered to himself. The old woman turned her head slowly, and for the first time, Daniel saw her face clearly. Wrinkles lined her cheeks, but they were not normal wrinkles. They looked like tiny glowing lines moving softly under her skin. She gave him a weak smile. Please. Help, she said in a voice that was both soft and heavy, like it came from another world. Daniel's first instinct was to run. Everything about her screamed danger. Who had glowing eyes? Who had a floating cane? But then he looked at the heavy bags on the ground. They were filled with strange objects, shapes he could not understand, boxes humming with a low sound, jars of liquid that sparkled. She was old, tired, and clearly in pain. Daniel sighed. Okay, let me help you, he said, trying to sound brave. He picked up 2 of the bags. They were strangely light even though they looked heavy. The humming grew louder as he touched them, like they were alive. He forced himself not to drop them. The old woman nodded. Kind human, she said, her glowing eyes watching him closely. Follow me. She walked slowly, her cane floating by her side. Daniel followed, carrying the bags. They turned into a smaller alley he had never noticed before. The deeper they went, the stranger it felt. The air smelled different, sharp and metallic. The walls seemed to bend slightly as if the space itself was not normal. Daniel's legs wanted to stop, but his heart pushed him forward. Something inside him whispered, Don't turn back. Not yet. Finally, they reached a small door hidden between 2 buildings. The door looked old and rusty, but when the woman touched it, glowing lines spread across it like veins. The door slid open silently, revealing a warm golden light inside. Daniel stepped in, his eyes wide. The room was small but filled with strange technology. Machines floated in the air, screens showed symbols he could not read, and jars of glowing plants lined the shelves. It looked like a mix of a kitchen, a laboratory, and a spaceship. The old woman set down her cane. It hovered near her, as if waiting for orders. She sighed in relief and sat down on a low chair. Daniel carefully placed the bags on the floor. Thank you, young man, she said slowly. You did not run. That is rare for your kind. Daniel laughed nervously. Well, I thought about it. Her smile grew wider. But you stayed. That is enough. Daniel's eyes scanned the room. Every corner was alive with strange lights and sounds. He felt like he was inside a science fiction movie. Part of him wanted to run, but another part wanted to stay and understand. The old woman looked at him with deep, glowing eyes. You are different. Kindness is rare. Remember this night, Daniel, for kindness always has a price. He froze. How do you know my name? The woman only smiled. She leaned back in her chair and closed her eyes, whispering words he could not understand. The machines around the room hummed louder, almost like they were answering her. Daniel felt a chill down his spine. He had only helped an old lady with her bags, but now he was inside a hidden place full of alien things. And this woman, whoever, whatever she was, knew his name without asking. He stepped back slowly toward the door. "I should go," he said, his voice shaking. The old woman opened her eyes again. They glowed brighter this time. She raised her hand slightly and the floating cane moved in front of the door, blocking his exit. "Not yet," she whispered. "Do not fear me. I only wish to repay your kindness." Daniel swallowed hard. His hands felt cold, his legs weak. He was trapped yet strangely calm. The woman leaned forward. "One day soon you will meet her, my granddaughter. And when that day comes, you will remember this moment." Her words echoed in his head like thunder. He wanted to ask, "Who? Why? Me?" But no words came out. The woman smiled softly, almost lovingly. "You are a good man, Daniel, and good men are hard to find." The machines in the room flickered, and the golden light grew dim. Daniel's heart pounded. He had helped an old woman, but this was no ordinary old woman. She was something else, something alien, and her promise, her warning, would change his life forever. Daniel could not sleep that night. No matter how many times he closed his eyes, the glowing face of the old woman appeared in his mind. Her words echoed like thunder. "One day soon you will meet her, my granddaughter." He tossed and turned in his bed, staring at the ceiling. He wanted to believe it was just a dream, some trick of his tired brain. But the memory of that strange floating cane, the glowing jars, and the way she said his name, without asking, told him it was real. Finally, he whispered to himself, "Maybe I should just forget about it. Act like nothing happened." But forgetting was impossible. The next morning started normal enough. Daniel made coffee, checked his phone, and tried to laugh at funny videos. But something was wrong. His phone screen glitched when he touched it. Strange symbols appeared for a split second, then vanished. They looked just like the glowing lines on the woman's face. He frowned. "That's weird." Later that day, as he walked to work, he felt something following him. A shadow moved quickly along the walls, but when he turned, there was nothing. He tried to convince himself it was his imagination, but deep inside he knew he was being watched. By evening, the feeling grew stronger. A faint humming followed. Him, the same kind of humming that came from the bags he carried for her. He turned a corner and froze. Floating above the street was a small object, no bigger than a basketball. It was dark silver with glowing blue lines, and it made a soft buzzing sound. A drone, but not like any drone he had ever seen. It moved too smoothly, too alive, circling him like a curious animal. Daniel's heart pounded. No way. This can't be happening. The drone blinked with a soft blue light, then zipped away into the darkness. Daniel ran home, locking his door behind him. He sat on the couch, breathing heavily, trying to calm himself. His normal life was breaking apart, piece by piece. That night, while he sat by the window, wondering if he should call the police or a doctor, something happened that made him nearly fall off his chair. A shadow passed across his window, on the second floor. Slowly, the figure moved closer until Daniel could see her. It was the old woman, but she wasn't climbing. She wasn't standing on anything. She was floating, her cane glowing softly as she hovered in the air. Daniel's mouth went dry. His hands shook. Oh my God. The window opened by itself with a soft hiss. Cold air rushed in and the woman floated gently inside. She landed softly on the floor, her glowing eyes fixed on him. "You," Daniel whispered. "How did you—" "What are you?" The woman raised her hand and the floating cane rested beside her. She smiled. "Do not be afraid, Daniel. You helped me. Now, I help you." Daniel stood frozen, his body stiff like stone. "I don't want help. I just want my normal life back." The woman tilted her head, almost amused. "Normal life? Look at your world, Daniel. Do you really think it is normal? You sensed the wrongness already. You saw my drone today, didn't you?" Daniel's heart skipped a beat. That thing was yours? She nodded. It was watching, protecting you. You are marked now, my people will know you. Daniel stepped back, shaking his head. No, no, no. I'm not part of this. I just helped you with some bags. That's it. I don't want any trouble. Her glowing eyes softened. Kindness, Daniel, always has a price. But it is not trouble I bring you, it is destiny. Daniel wanted to scream at her to leave, but his voice wouldn't come. The old woman slowly walked closer. Her presence was strange, both frightening and calming, like standing in front of a storm that wanted to protect you instead of destroy you. You will meet her soon, she whispered. My granddaughter. She is young, strong, but alone. Our people hide in the shadows. We survive, but barely. She needs a protector, a bond, a man who does not run when he sees truth. Daniel's eyes widened. You mean, you want me? No, no way. The woman chuckled softly, the sound echoing in the room like two voices speaking at once. You think it is a choice? Perhaps it is. But fate is already moving, Daniel. You cannot escape it. He shook his head, his voice breaking. I'm just an ordinary guy. I can't protect anyone. I can't even protect myself. The old woman touched his shoulder lightly. Her hand was cold but not unpleasant. That is what makes you strong. The greatest protectors are not those who want power, but those who fear it. Remember this. Her words sank deep into his chest, heavy and terrifying. Suddenly the cane glowed brighter, and strange symbols filled the room, floating like fireflies. Daniel gasped as one of the glowing lines wrapped around his wrist for a moment before fading. What was that? He shouted. The woman's smile deepened. A mark, so she will find you. When the time comes, Daniel, you will see her. And then your choice will matter. The light faded, and before Daniel could react, the woman moved back toward the window. The cane lifted her gently into the air. Wait, Daniel cried. Why me? Why not someone else? The woman hovered outside, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. Her voice echoed in his head even after her lips stopped moving. Because you are human. And humans are special. Then she vanished into the night sky. Daniel collapsed on his couch, his body shaking. His phone buzzed on the table. When he picked it up, the screen flashed again with alien symbols before going black. He stared at the dead screen, his heart racing. The old woman was not just strange. She was something else. Something dangerous. And now, her secret was his burden. Daniel woke the next morning feeling like his world was broken into two halves, his old boring life, and the new strange one that was now pulling him in. His phone still refused to turn on. His dreams were filled with glowing symbols, floating canes, and the alien woman's words. You will meet her soon, my granddaughter. He tried to push the memory away as he made breakfast, but his hands trembled. He spilled milk, dropped a spoon, and finally gave up eating. Something inside him whispered, today will not be normal. The day dragged on slowly. At work, he couldn't focus. Numbers on his computer screen blurred and twisted until they looked like the same alien symbols. Every time he blinked, he thought he saw shadows moving in the corners of the room. By evening, Daniel was exhausted. He stepped outside, hoping fresh air would clear his head. The street was quiet again. Too quiet. That's when he saw her. Eddie. First, she was only a shadow at the far end of the street. A tall, slim figure walking slowly, almost floating. As she came closer, Daniel's breath caught in his chest. It was not the old woman. This girl looked young, maybe his age or younger. Her hair shimmered faintly like strands of silver catching the moonlight. Her skin had a soft glow, not bright, but enough to make her look unreal. Her eyes, large, bright, and full of curiosity, seemed to see everything at once. Daniel froze, unable to move. She stopped a few steps away, tilting her head as if studying him. You are Daniel, she said, in a soft voice. Her accent was strange, almost like two tones layered together. Daniel's throat went dry. Who are you? She smiled, shy but steady. My name is Lyra. She hesitated, then added, Grandmother sent me. The words hit him like a hammer. He stumbled back. No, no way. You're her granddaughter? Lyra nodded. Yes. She told me about you. She said you helped her, and because of that, you must meet me. Daniel's heart raced. He wanted to shout, to ask 100 questions, but only one came out. Why? Lyra's eyes softened, almost sad. Because she believes you are chosen. Daniel let out a nervous laugh. Chosen? Me? I'm just a guy who helped an old lady carry bags. That's it. Lyra stepped closer. For a moment, Daniel caught a faint pulse beneath her skin, like a second heartbeat glowing under the surface. It wasn't human, it was something else. You are not ordinary, she said quietly. Most humans run when they see us. You stayed. That makes you different. Daniel shook his head. No, it makes me stupid. I should have run. I don't want any part of this alien, whatever this is. Lyra frowned, her glowing eyes dimming a little. You think we are monsters? Daniel hesitated. Her voice wasn't angry. It was almost hurt. He swallowed. I don't know what you are, but you're not normal. She looked down, her silver hair falling across her face. I know. I am not normal. Not here. My people are hiding, Daniel. We have been hiding for a long time. And now, things are worse. Before Daniel could ask what she meant, Lyra turned her head sharply, as if hearing something far away. Her eyes glowed brighter, scanning the dark street. They are coming, she whispered. Daniel stiffened. Who? Who's coming? She grabbed his arm suddenly. Her touch was warm, almost electric. We must move, now. Daniel stumbled after her as she pulled him into the alley. His heart pounded. Wait, what's going on? Who's after you? Lyra didn't look back. Hunters. They want me. They want us all. And if they see you with me, they will want you too. They ran through narrow streets until they reached an old abandoned building. Lyra pushed open the rusty door and pulled Daniel inside. The place smelled of dust and age, but strange lights flickered faintly on the walls like hidden technology humming quietly in the background. Lyra finally let go of his arm. Daniel leaned against the wall, gasping for breath. Okay, he said between gulps of air. You have to explain. What is happening? Lyra looked at him for a long moment, then she spoke, her voice steady but heavy. My grandmother was right. You had to see the truth. My people, we are not from here. We came long ago running from war. We hid on your earth, building small shelters, living quietly. But now our enemies have found us. The hunters are near, and they will not stop until we are destroyed or taken back. Daniel stared at her, his mind spinning. It sounded insane, but after everything he had seen, the glowing cane, the symbols, the drone, he couldn't deny it. He shook his head. But why me? Why drag me into this? Lyra's expression softened again. Because grandmother believes you can protect me. She believes you will not abandon me. Daniel laughed bitterly. Protect you? I can't even protect myself from a stray dog. How am I supposed to protect you from alien hunters? Lyra stepped closer, her glowing eyes locking with his. Because you are human. And humans have something even we cannot understand. Daniel felt his chest tighten. And, what's that? She whispered the word like it was sacred. Hope. Before Daniel could respond, the ground shook slightly. A low metallic hum echoed outside the building. Lyra's face grew pale. They are here, she said. Daniel's stomach dropped. He peeked through the crack in the door. In the distance, strange lights moved across the sky, sharp and unnatural. Shadows with long limbs flickered between the street lamps. Lyra grabbed his hand again, holding it tight. It begins tonight, Daniel. You can walk away now or you can stay. But if you stay, Your life will never be the same. Daniel's heart thundered. He looked at her glowing eyes, her trembling but brave face. And for the first time, he realized this wasn't just about her. It was about him too. The old building was silent except for the soft hum of hidden machines. Dust floated in the air, and broken windows let in thin streams of moonlight. Daniel leaned against the wall, his chest rising and falling fast. Outside, he could still hear the faint metallic hum of the hunters searching. Lyra stood near him, her glowing eyes scanning the shadows. She seemed calm, but Daniel noticed her hands trembled slightly. She wasn't as unshaken as she pretended to be. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. "Why me?" he asked, his voice sharp. "Why am I here? I didn't ask for this." Lyra turned, her head slowly. "Because you already made a choice when you helped my grandmother. You stepped into our world even if you didn't know it." Daniel shook his head. "That's not fair. I only carried bags for her. That's not some big destiny." Lyra stepped closer, her silver hair glowing faintly in the dark. To her, it was enough. She believes you are different. She believes you can be trusted. Daniel let out a bitter laugh. "Trusted? I'm nobody. I'm just a guy who hates his job, who doesn't even know what he's doing with his life." Lyra's glowing eyes softened. "That is exactly why. You do not crave power. You are not greedy. That makes you safe." Daniel rubbed his face, trying to calm his spinning thoughts. "And what does she want with me, really?" Lyra hesitated for a moment, then spoke the words carefully. "She wants us to bond." Daniel blinked. "Bond? What does that even mean?" Lyra's voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. "In our people's tradition, a bond is like your marriage. It is a joining of two lives, a promise that cannot be broken. With the bond, we share strength. We share fate." Daniel's eyes widened. Wait, are you saying she wants me to marry you?" Lyra looked away, her face glowing faintly pink. "Yes." For a moment, Daniel's mind went completely blank. Marriage? To an alien? A girl he had just met? His thoughts crashed into each other like broken glass. "This is insane," he muttered. "You don't even know me. I don't even know you. And your grandmother just decided this?" Lyra's expression hardened. "She believes it is the only way to keep me safe. A bond with a human will hide me. It will give me protection both here and beyond." Daniel stared at her, his anger boiling. "And what if I say no?" Lyra's eyes flickered with sadness. "Then the hunters will find me. They will take me back, and they will kill anyone who helped me, including you." The words hit Daniel like a punch to the chest. His anger melted into fear. "So, either I agree, or I die." Lyra shook her head. "Not exactly. You always have a choice. But choices have consequences." For a long moment, silence filled the room. The only sound was the faint hum of alien machines hidden in the walls. Daniel's heart thumped painfully in his chest. Finally, he whispered, "Why me? Out of all the humans in this city, why me?" Lyra looked at him with eyes that seemed to pierce his soul. "Because you are kind. You saw my grandmother and you helped her. Most humans look away. They laugh, they ignore, they walk past. But you stopped. That is rare. That is hope." Daniel's throat tightened. The memory of that night returned. The glowing old woman. Her heavy bags, the way she smiled at him. He had thought it was nothing, but to them it was everything. Lyra stepped closer. For the first time, Daniel noticed how human she looked and yet how different she was. Her silver hair shimmered even in the darkness. Her skin glowed faintly, almost like soft starlight. And her eyes, those strange bright eyes, were both alien and heartbreakingly human. "I do not ask this because I want to trap you," she said softly. "I ask because without you I may not survive. My grandmother believes our lives are meant to cross. Maybe she is wrong. Maybe she is right. But I cannot do this alone." Daniel felt the weight of her words pressing down on him. He wanted to scream that it wasn't fair, that he wasn't ready, that this wasn't his fight. But when he looked at her trembling hands, he saw fear. Real fear. She wasn't just an alien. She was a girl trapped in a war she didn't choose. Before he could answer, a low rumble shook the ground. The old building trembled, dust falling from the ceiling. Lyra's head snapped toward the door, her eyes glowing bright. "They are closer," she whispered. "The hunters have found us." Daniel's stomach dropped. "What do we do?" Lyra grabbed his hand, her touch warm and strong. "If you bond with me, I can fight them. We can fight them together. Without it, I don't know if I can protect you." Daniel's heart pounded. He was standing on the edge of two worlds, his normal life and this impossible life with her. One path was safe, but empty. The other was dangerous, terrifying, but full of something he couldn't name. Lyra's glowing eyes met his. "The choice is yours, Daniel, but choose quickly. They are coming." Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to run, to scream, to deny everything. But deep inside, something told him this was real. This was fate. The night he carried those glowing bags, his life had already changed. He swallowed hard, his voice shaking. "If I do this, if I agree, what happens to me?" Lyra held his gaze. "You will never be the same again." And then outside, the sound of metallic footsteps echoed closer. The hunters were here. The building trembled again, louder this time. Dust rained down from the cracked ceiling, and the air grew thick with an electric hum. Daniel's heart pounded, so hard he could hear it in his ears. Lyra gripped his wrist, her glowing eyes locked on the doorway. "They are here," she whispered. Daniel's mouth went dry. "Who exactly are they?" Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. "Hunters. They were made to track us, capture us, or destroy us. They will not stop until they have me." Daniel felt the world spin. He wanted to scream that this wasn't his fight, that he never asked for this. But before he could speak, the door shuddered, as if something heavy struck it from the outside. Boom! The sound echoed through the empty halls. The lights on the walls flickered, and the hidden machines gave off a sharp buzz. Daniel backed away. "Oh God. Oh no, no, no." Lyra pulled him closer, forcing him to look into her bright eyes. "Listen to me, Daniel. You cannot freeze. If they find us, we run. Do you understand?" He nodded quickly, though his legs felt like stone. The door shook again, bending inward. Cracks formed in the old wood. Through them, Daniel saw glowing red lights like burning eyes, scanning the dark interior. Then, with a final crash, the door exploded inward. 3 tall figures stepped inside. Their bodies were covered in black armor that shimmered faintly like liquid metal. Their heads were smooth helmets with no mouths, only glowing red slits for eyes. Each carried a long, curved weapon that hummed with deadly energy. The hunters moved with mechanical grace, slow but unstoppable. One of them turned its glowing gaze toward Daniel. For a brief second, he felt like he couldn't breathe, as if the red light was pulling the air from his lungs. Lyra stepped in front of him, her silver hair shining in the dim light. "Stay behind me," she said firmly. Daniel's voice cracked. "What can you even do against them?" Lyra raised her hands and faint blue light spread across her skin. "More than you think." The hunters advanced, their weapons humming louder. One pointed at Lyra, and a deep metallic voice echoed from its chest. "Target located. Return order. Immediate." Daniel flinched at the sound. It wasn't human. It wasn't even alive. It was like hearing death itself speak. Lyra shook her head. "You will not take me." The hunter tilted its head. "Resistance calculated. Futile." Daniel whispered, "Oh God, they even sound like nightmares." Suddenly, the first hunter raised its weapon. A beam of red energy shot across the room. Lyra reacted instantly, pulling Daniel down. The beam scorched the wall behind them, leaving a burning mark. "Run!" she shouted. Daniel stumbled to his feet as Lyra pulled him through the back hallway. The hunters followed, their heavy steps shaking the floor. Red beams sliced through the walls, filling the air with smoke and sparks. Daniel's chest burned as he ran. His legs screamed for rest, but fear pushed him forward. They burst into another room, an old storage hall filled with broken crates. Lyra stopped and pressed her glowing hands against the wall. Symbols lit up across the surface and a hidden door slid open. "In here," she urged. They ran inside, and the door closed behind them with a hiss. The hum of the hunters grew fainter, muffled by the thick walls. Daniel bent over, gasping for air. "This is insane," he wheezed. "They're like machines from hell." Lyra's face was pale, but her voice was calm. "They are worse. Machines only kill. Hunters destroy everything." Daniel leaned against the wall, sweat dripping down his face. "Then we're dead. There's no way we can fight them." Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes fierce. "That is why my grandmother spoke of the bond. Together we could resist them. Alone, I cannot hold them back forever." Daniel shook his head, panic rising. "You keep saying bond like it's some magic trick. I don't even know what it means. I'm just a normal guy." Lyra stepped closer, placing a glowing hand on his chest. Daniel felt warmth spread through him, a strange calm mixed with power. "You are not normal," she whispered. "You are human. That is enough." For a moment Daniel wanted to believe her, but then the walls shook again. The hunters were back. The hidden door began to glow red as their weapons cut through it. Lyra grabbed both his hands, her eyes desperate. "Daniel, listen to me. If they break through, I cannot hold them alone. If you bond with me, our strength will join. You will have the power to stand." Daniel's heart thundered. He looked at the door, the glowing crack spreading across it. He looked back at Lyra, her silver hair glowing like fire, her trembling hands clutching his. I don't know if I can," he said, his voice breaking. "You can," she whispered. "Because you must." The door burst open, blinding red light flooding the room. The hunters stepped inside, weapons raised, voices echoing in perfect unison. Target locked. Resistance eliminated. Daniel froze, terror locking his body. Lyra squeezed his hands tighter. "Daniel, decide now," she begged. "With me or without me. If you choose nothing, we both die." The hunters raised their weapons, the air humming with deadly energy. Daniel's mind screamed at him to run, to hide, to give up. But another voice inside him, the one he barely knew he had, whispered something else. "Fight." He opened his mouth to speak, but before the words came, the hunters struck. The room glowed red as the hunters stepped forward, their weapons humming, with deadly energy. Sparks rained down from the doorframe and the air felt heavy, almost suffocating. Daniel's body froze. His mind screamed for him to run, to hide, to vanish. But there was nowhere left to go. Lyra clutched his hands tightly, her glowing eyes locked on his. "Daniel, choose now. With me or we both die." His heart hammered so loud it drowned out everything else. He wanted to scream, "I can't." But when he saw Lyra's trembling face, her fear hidden beneath courage, something inside him shifted. He realized she wasn't asking him to be a hero. She was asking him to stand with her. Daniel swallowed hard, his voice shaking. "Okay, I'll do it. Whatever this bond is, I'll do it." Lyra's eyes widened with relief. "Then hold on." Before Daniel could ask how, Lyra pressed her forehead against his. Her hands gripped his tighter, and suddenly, light exploded between them. A surge of energy rushed through Daniel's body, hot and electric, like fire flooding his veins. He gasped as symbols appeared around them, glowing in midair. They swirled and twisted, forming patterns he couldn't understand but somehow felt. Lyra's voice echoed inside his head, not from her lips but from deep within. "Do not fear it. Accept it." Daniel clenched his teeth, fighting against the burning sensation. His heart raced, and for a terrifying moment he thought he would be torn apart. But then, calm. The light sank into his chest, and Daniel felt strength awaken. His body felt lighter, stronger, alive in a way it never had before. He looked down at his arms. Glowing lines spread across his skin like fire etched under the surface. His hands trembled with new power. Lyra pulled back slightly, her eyes shining with pride. The bond is complete. The hunters stopped, their red eyes flickering as if analyzing the sudden change. One tilted its head. Anomaly detected. Daniel's fear returned for a second, but now it was different. Fear was still there, but it no longer controlled him. Instead, something stronger rose in his chest. He stepped forward, instinctively moving in front of Lyra. "You want her?" He shouted at the hunters, his voice shaking but louder than before. "You'll have to go through me first." The hunters raised their weapons in response. Red beams fired across the room, but Daniel didn't fall. Without thinking, he raised his hand. A glowing shield of blue light appeared in front of him, absorbing the blast. The beams crackled against it, then dissolved. Daniel stared in disbelief. What did I just do?" Lyra's voice was steady, strong. "You used our bond. My strength is yours now, and your courage is mine." The hunters stepped closer, weapons ready again. Daniel clenched his fists. "Then let's see how much courage I really have." The next moment happened in a blur. One hunter lunged forward, swinging its curved weapon. Daniel moved instinctively, raising his arm. Energy burst from his hand, forming a glowing barrier that stopped the strike. Sparks flew as the weapon hit, but the shield held. Daniel shoved forward, and the energy pulsed outward, knocking the hunter back into the wall with a crash. His eyes widened. He had never thrown a punch in his life, but now he had just thrown back a monster. The other hunters advanced, their red eyes glowing brighter. Lyra stepped beside him, her hands glowing with the same energy. "Together," she cried. Daniel nodded, and for the first time he wasn't just afraid. He was ready. The hunters attacked, their beams slicing through the air. Daniel blocked one with his shield while Lyra launched a wave of blue light, striking another in the chest. The creature staggered but didn't fall. Daniel felt a rush of heat in his chest. His instincts screamed to act, and he swung his arm forward. A blast of energy shot out of his hand, slamming into the hunter with enough force to send it crashing into the floor. His eyes widened in shock. I can actually fight them," Lyra smiled fiercely. "Yes, you can." The third hunter leaped, high, landing behind them. Its weapon swung down toward Lyra. Daniel didn't think, he moved. His body reacted before his mind could catch up. He grabbed Lyra and spun, pulling her away as the blade crashed into the ground. Sparks exploded where it struck. Daniel's chest burned with determination. He raised his hand again, and energy burst outward in a shockwave, throwing the hunter backward. For a moment, the room was silent except for the crackle of broken machines. Daniel stood there, chest heaving, his arms glowing with alien light. He had faced death and lived. The hunters slowly rose again, damaged but not destroyed. Their red eyes flickered, analyzing him with new calculation. One spoke, its voice cold and metallic. "Human anomaly, dangerous. Elimination priority. Highest." Daniel's stomach twisted at the words. For the first time in his life, he was the target. Not just Lyra, but instead of fear, he felt something else. Anger. He glared at the hunters, his fists glowing brighter. "You're not taking her. Not while I'm still standing." Lyra's voice echoed softly in his mind through the bond. "You are not alone. We stand together." Daniel looked at her and nodded. Something unspoken passed between them. Trust. The hunters advanced again, their weapons glowing hotter. The air shook with tension. Daniel tightened his fists. His body still trembled, but it was no longer from fear. It was from power. from courage. He had been ordinary all his life, weak, unsure, always running from problems. But now, in this moment, he had chosen to stand. Whatever happened next, he knew one truth. He would not run again. The room smelled of smoke and dust. Broken machines sparked on the floor, and pieces of glowing metal scattered everywhere. Daniel stood in the center, chest heaving, his arms still glowing faint blue. Lyra was beside him, her silver hair messy, her glowing eyes fixed on the hunters. For the first time, the hunters hesitated. Their red eyes flickered, scanning the strange energy that now pulsed from Daniel's body. One of them stepped back. The others moved with mechanical caution, weapons still raised but slower now. Bond confirmed. One of them spoke, its voice metallic and cold. Human anomaly is unstable. Risk factor extreme. Daniel swallowed hard, his fists trembling. He wasn't sure how long this new strength would last. His body already felt heavy, as if the power burned through him too quickly. Lyra squeezed, his hand gently. "They know they cannot take us now," she whispered. The hunter's glowing eyes narrowed. Then, as if obeying some silent command, they began to retreat. Their bodies flickered like shadows before vanishing into the darkness, outside leaving only silence behind. Daniel stared at the empty doorway, hardly able to breathe. They left? Lyra nodded slowly, though her face was tense. For now. But they will return. Stronger. More of them. Daniel's heart sank. He wanted to feel relief, but instead all he felt was dread. This wasn't over. It was only the beginning. He leaned against the cracked wall, his body shaking. "I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. I'm not a fighter. I'm not..." Lyra touched his shoulder gently, her voice soft. "You are. Tonight proved it. You stood, you fought. That is more than most could ever do." Daniel met her glowing eyes. Something in them, warmth, trust, maybe even hope, made him fall silent. The floor creaked behind them. Daniel spun, his shield half forming again before he realized it wasn't. Another hunter. It was her. The alien grandmother stepped through the broken doorway, her floating cane glowing faintly. She looked at them with tired, glowing eyes, and a small smile curved her lips. "You did it," she said softly. "The bond is complete." Daniel froze. You knew this would happen, didn't you? You planned it all." The grandmother nodded slowly. "Yes. The hunters would never stop. The only way for her to survive was to bond with one who could stand. And you, Daniel, are that one." Daniel's hands curled into fists. "You used me. You didn't give me a choice." The grandmother's eyes glowed brighter. "You had a choice. You chose to help me that night. You chose to stand for her tonight. Do not pretend fate dragged you. You walked into it." Daniel wanted to argue, but the words died in his throat. Deep down, he knew she was right. Lyra stepped forward, her voice softer. "Grandmother, he is still afraid. He does not know if he can bear this weight." The old woman's eyes shifted to Daniel, sharp but kind. "Fear is natural. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite it, and he has already done so." Daniel looked away, struggling with the truth. His whole life he had been ordinary, invisible, unimportant. But now he was something else, something even the hunters feared, and that terrified him more than anything. The grandmother raised her cane, and symbols appeared in the air, glowing softly. A small sphere floated out of the light and into Daniel's hand. It was cold, metallic, but pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. "This will guide you," the grandmother said. "It is a key, a beacon. Should you ever lose your way, it will bring you back to us." Daniel stared at it, confused. "Why give this to me?" The grandmother's voice grew heavier. "Because this war is larger than us. Tonight you saw only hunters. Tomorrow there will be armies. And when that day comes, you will need to decide, not just for her but for all of us." Daniel's stomach twisted. Armies? Wars? He wanted none of it. He wanted his old life back where the biggest problem was paying bills on time. But now, that life was gone. Lyra stepped beside him, her hand brushing his. I know this is not the life you wanted, but it is the life we now share. You do not stand alone. Her words were soft, but they steadied him. He looked at her. This alien girl with glowing eyes, fragile yet strong, and something inside him shifted. For the first time, he didn't feel trapped. He felt chosen. He closed his fist around the sphere and nodded. Then if I'm in this, I'll see it through. The grandmother's smile deepened, faint but full of pride. Good. You will need that resolve. Suddenly, the walls around them pulsed with light. Strange symbols lit up, crawling across the broken surfaces. Daniel's chest tightened. What's happening now? He asked. The grandmother's voice was grave. They are not retreating. They are calling reinforcements. Lyra's eyes widened. From where? The grandmother's gaze shifted upward toward the night sky. From beyond this world. Daniel felt the blood drain from his face. He looked at Lyra, then back at the glowing symbols. You mean, they're not just coming from Earth? He whispered. The grandmother's glowing eyes locked on him, her voice echoing like thunder. No, Daniel. The signal has gone to the stars. The war has only just begun. Daniel's chest rose and fell as the weight of her words settled over him. He thought he had stepped into something small, a secret, a strange encounter, maybe even an impossible love story. But now he understood. He wasn't just fighting for Lyra. He wasn't just protecting one alien family. He was standing on the edge of a war between worlds, and somehow a simple human, him, had just become part of it.